So there is this spot in my house. You know, like you walk into the house and it's like, hi, it's welcoming. And then there's just a Mount Everest of shoes 24/7. I do like shoes. I do own a lot of shoes and I'm probably the problem, but it also feels appropriate for me to solve the problem. Because then if I solve the problem, that was me, I feel like it's okay. You know what I mean? I think so. We're making a shoe rack. Also, welcome. My name's Brooke, and this is Maker's Workshop, and thank you to Home Depot for sponsoring this build. The first section I'm tackling is putting together what will become the shelves. These are primarily made up of sections of 1x2s, so I measured out my length, marked my wood, and started cutting down sections using a jigsaw. Now, there are a couple of heart-to-hearts that go along with this project that I want to have with you. First, you may have noticed that I'm using Poplar to build this, and if you follow this channel, you know that Poplar and I have a bit of a past. A checkered past, some might say.
I hate Poplar.
Perhaps predictably in that project, I proved to myself that Poplar is not ideal for small detailed work. Poplar really is not used for that anyway. It's more used for like building things like I'm making today, so it just seemed like the appropriate redemptive Poplar project to tackle. The second thing worth mentioning about this project is that I have really been looking forward to tackling a straight woodworking project myself. Michael's the faster woodworker between the two of us, so typically if we have a woodworking project, he just handles it because it makes sense that way, but then I don't really get that much practice. The design I have in mind for the shoe rack has a lot of repetitive cuts and steps, so I thought it would be a great one to take on myself as practice. Yeah! I grabbed some corner clamps to dry fit each set of pieces into a frame shape to make sure that everything looked and felt dimension-wise how I wanted it, before adding some tight bond quick and thick to each joint and clamping this together tightly. Like the name suggests, this stuff is thick and only requires 15 minutes of clamp time. 15 minutes. Let's do this. I only have 4 corner clamps, so I need to do these one at a time, so the quick dry time is perfect. These are not strong. Because it's an end grain to side grain glue joint. The end grain sucks up the glue, which the thick glue does help with a little bit, but still, I don't know, I'm not gonna rely on these by any means. The main point of this first step was to tack everything into place so that I have a nice base to get the slats in. The slats that I'm gonna put in are gonna help build up the sturdiness and rigidity of these. This is just a nice loose frame. I made sure every angle was the right angle. That's always a good thing. Yeah. Wait. Okay. Let's move on. I needed to add a ledge for my slats to sit on top of, so I cut 1x1s down on the bandsaw to fit within each frame. Once I knew I had the length right, I cut a bunch of them and started gluing. This glue joint is side grain to side grain, so it'll be a lot stronger. Also, this is Titebond 3 wood glue. Just because it's what I had kicking around, I think you could get away with using any kind of wood glue here though. I got all 4 shelves glued up and let them dry overnight before getting started on the first horizontal slats using some more 1x2 Poplar. The first horizontal slats for each shelf will be another side grain to side grain glue joint to continue adding rigidity to these shelves. I repeated all of this 4 times over and once again let it all dry. Each shelf is getting 3 1x1 horizontal slats. I'm positioning these by eye. It's easy to get it almost perfect by focusing on cutting the remaining space in half. So the first slat goes down the middle, cutting it in half, and then the 2 remaining slats go and cut their respective side in half. I grabbed some sawdust and mixed it with wood glue to make wood putty. The consistency should look something like this. There were a few gaps that needed to be filled before I sanded everything down. I'm sanding this first with an 80 grit and then a second time with a 150 grit. The drawers were done and ready to be attached to 2 pieces of 1 foot by 4 foot poplar sections I had set aside for the sides of this rack. To attach the shelves to the outside piece here, I'm gonna go into this lip that's on the bottom of each shelf piece with a 2-inch drywall screw. It'll just go zip into the side, leaving the screw head in a hidden spot in the outside of the shelf, looking completely unmarked. And then also, I'm gonna be using the Makita subcompact impact driver and power drill set. These are really nice and slim and lightweight, which makes getting into tight places like this a lot easier. First, I got pilot holes into the undersides of each shelf using a countersink bit on my Makita power drill. I'm putting in 4 holes per shelf. From there was a matter of lining everything up and screwing it into place using the impact driver. We're also adding a line or 2 of wood glue to each seam as well for some added rigidity. And halfway through this too, we found that parallel bar clamps were really helpful. Having help for assembly makes it go so much faster, so thank you, Michael. Shoe rack.
And your feet.
Yeah. Huh?
And you have to cut your feet tomorrow too.
Oh, do we want those? I can't decide if I want those. To visually balance the top out, I wanted to trim it down to be 2 inches. I was able to do this really easily with my Makita circular saw. And then the sides got a good sanding as well. And then I went in and blew off all the sawdust to get the wood nice and clean. What am I doing? That's better. And then in a last second change of heart, I decided I did want to add some quick and simple feet to this. It will help it sit better on an uneven floor. So I just sketched out what I wanted and then cut it away with a jigsaw. Then it was painting time. I'm starting with a sandable filler primer. I had found some extra trim paint from the front hallway of my house, so it seemed like a natural choice to paint this that color. I started by cutting in the edges, and then I used my paint roller everywhere it was feasible to do so, because rolling the paint on, in my opinion, gives a much more desirable texture to the paint. And this took about 2 to 3 coats in some areas to have looking as even as I wanted it to. This paint job took a while, to be honest, because there was a lot of little details to get into, but I got there. thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to click the subscribe button, give it a thumbs up. We've been trying to do weekly videos lately. They've been coming out every Tuesday, so you can look forward to that. And I think that's all. Have a good one, and I'll see you next time.